Well, hello there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Gavin. This is my show. If you're into true crime, you like to get into the nitty gritty of things, cut past the fluff, the sensationalism in true crime, and just get down to the raw essence of it. That's what we try to do here. We do our best. We fail sometimes, but we do our best. Today we are talking about the case of the murder of Judge Kevin Mullins. Judge Mullins was a sitting judge in Letcher County, Kentucky, when he was shot dead by this guy right here, a man named Mickey Stines, in his what they call his chamber. There's a little discussion about that. But to really get into this case, I want to welcome back to the show for, I don't know, the 12th, 13th, 14th time, but she is an expert. She lives in Letcher County. It's Elizabeth Jones from Hillbilly Crime. How's it going?
Hey, I am couldn't be better, Gavin. Thanks for having
Yeah?
us again.
Yeah, well, I love having you on the show. Thanks for being here.
No
So you
problem.
got a different backdrop now. You're in the Kitete room, I think.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to get this upload stuff fixed, and
Yeah.
you know how that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. I get it. You were talking on your program. I
Moving on.
was I, I was lurking. I commented a couple times. I was lurking on your show that you did right before this one. And you're talking about you have ideas for a house and what you want and where you want to be. I have a suggestion for you. Being
Okay.
a new to the world of having cats as pets in our home, having a place that's just the cat room is great. It's for us. It's the laundry room. It's a dual purpose room for sure. Well, it's like a tri-purpose room because it's also where Kimberly stretches and stuff like that. But like having a place where it's like, you know what, you guys like to step and sit on my face in the middle of the night. No more of this. You hang out in your room. Go to your room. I'm just suggesting it. Just suggesting it for you.
I hear you all night long. I hear things falling and getting knocked off, and my cats are worse trouble than my dogs.
That's hilarious. Yeah, Betty and Judy Haynes are doing well over here. They're settling in. They're getting to know us pretty well. It's pretty fun. Hey, what has been going on in the land of the murder of Kevin Mullins?
Well, this past week was one of the deadlines for a lot of the motions. So we ended up seeing kind of a flurry of motions getting filed, and responses to motions being filed. Um, then there was a little mix up this morning or whenever it was. Maybe it was yesterday or the day before. I'm not really sure. But there was some filings done and they attached the grand jury transcript to it. And so everybody that was on the media list got to see the full grand jury transcript before it was sealed.
That is a huge no-no. That is a huge no-no, right?
Yes.
But it's out there. I mean, I don't have it. I wasn't on the list in time. I don't have it. But
Yeah.
there's some screenshots out there, right? We,
Yeah.
we've got a couple. So let me bring these up here real quick. These are credit to somebody other than us. What button do I need to push? I need to push this one and this one. Here we go. So a grand jury, by the way, everybody, it's like the most unfair court proceeding in all of court proceedings because the defense doesn't get to mount a defense. It is
Mhm.
just the prosecution presenting to a jury, and these are jurors who show up for jury duty and are assigned a grand jury as their jury duty. They're regular folks, and they have to decide. And it doesn't have to be unanimous, right? There's certain rules in different places. They have to decide if there's enough evidence that the prosecutor has to establish probable cause. That's what it is. These are always sealed. These are always in secret. There is never anything that is released out of the grand jury. I mean, the defense attorneys have it and the prosecution has it, but publicly, no, 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 no. It never goes anywhere. But they accidentally let it out. I wish I would have been on the list.
I didn't know there was a list to even get on.
Neither did I until this very day.
Man.
So, yeah, what are some of the things that I mean, when you went through these, did you catch anything that you thought was particularly important?
Yeah, I thought that the biggest shocker, there was a lot in this that came out during through this transcript. There was another article that a different network had written, and it really gave a lot of good detail in there. So one of the things that came out was that Mickey Stines did not have any memory of like his recent past. And the way that I took that was he didn't have any memory of the shooting. And he was, kind of, and it said multiple times, not just once, it was multiple times. He was combative with the jail staff and that he had to be pepper sprayed. Look at his eyes right there. He looks like he'd just been pepper sprayed
Yeah.
there.
Let me go
His
back.
red.
I have this new system I have to figure out. Give me a second. So that was that one, right? Ah, wrong
Look at
one.
his eyes.
Wrong button. Okay, not this one, not this one. Push the pause button, not the stopgap. Yeah.
Yeah. His eyes look really red and stuff there, don't they?
Yeah, they do. And I think this was at his preliminary hearing, right?
Yeah, it was a couple times ago. Um, But it said that he had been combative with the staff and that he didn't have a memory of the recent past. And, so here I am imagining, here's Mickey in the jail cell saying, "Why am I in here? Why are you holding me in here?"
Yeah.
Like, "I'm the cops, let me out of here." I
Yeah.
couldn't
You
imagine.
know who I am? I'm the sheriff. I am the sheriff. Yeah, like
I couldn't imagine.
yeah, I couldn't either. Now, the other thing I just saw, and I was really sorry about this, guys. Like, Mickey Stein's daughter is a juvenile. We shouldn't be putting out any information about that. And there was stuff on that last screen that I didn't want to show, um, but it does say that there was a rumor that his daughter had a relationship with Judge Mullins. She denied those allegations, and she was specifically asked about whether or not she had any knowledge of. Well, the mom was asked if she had any knowledge about her daughter and Judge Mullins having any sort of relationship, and her response was that was not true. Right?
Yeah. And I can tell you too, I'm really, really surprised. So the prosecution finally put in a request to change the venue. The
That's
motion of
right. Yeah. Where is that? I have that here somewhere.
and but and he's requesting it to be moved away from all southeastern Kentucky counties. Like he doesn't just want it out of Letcher County. He wants it out of this entire part of the state. And honestly, I think that that only benefits Mickey because everybody wants to keep saying that this had to do with his daughter and the judge. No matter how much they come out and say, "That's not true. That's not true." It doesn't matter. People away from here, they are holding on to that like they're not letting go of that for nothing. And so I think that that's only going to benefit Mickey the farther away from here he gets. I think
Hmm.
people are just still going to have that stuck in their brain. Sheriff's daughter and the judge.
Well, I mean, he did. or his counsel, what I have is the response in opposition to the Commonwealth's motion for a change of venue. So they, at least according to this document here, they want to stay in Letcher County, but you think this is
Mhm.
actually better for them.
Well, I mean, the prosecutors, they've put in this motion, so I would probably um, guess that the prosecutor will get what they're asking for. Um, and now I hope that they don't. I hope it stays in Letcher County myself, but I think
Why?
that
Why do you hope it stays in Letcher County?
just because I think that I believe in what Bartleys are saying. The Bartleys are saying their argument on this is, Mickey should be given a trial of his peers. This jury should be of the people who voted him for him and put him in there, or didn't vote for him and put him in there, but it should be the citizens of Letcher County that hear this case. And I never even thought about this part of a trial before. Never even thought about it until this case. And I just think I believe in it. I believe what Bartley's throwing down. he,
Yeah,
he's hooked me. He's hooked me with it.
I think it's pretty uncommon to actually get a change of venue. I mean,
Mm.
I've sat in lots of hearings, like in person in courthouses, where the defense argues for a change of venue, and they've got a good argument to make. It's usually, that's the thing that we should point out. It's usually the defense that wants elsewhere. It's usually not the prosecution. This one is backwards, but judges don't like to do that. They don't like to change venue. Now, I think in this case, where we've got a sheriff walking into a judge's chamber and shooting him dead, that might be enough to actually, you know, make it so that they change venue. I mean, it's an extraordinary case. There's nothing like this. Have you ever heard of anything like this? There's nothing that I can think of.
Mm-mm. No, me neither. I've never heard of anything like this. But I'm believing in the argument. He's succeeded in winning my vote for it to be in Letcher County. Um, I think that he also says that the geographical um, part of being in Eastern Kentucky is part of like who we are. And like he really gave a great argument on this and said that the farther away that you get from here, the less like us you get. So, if they send him to Western Kentucky, the people that are going to be on that jury are not the same kind of people that he's going to have from here. Like we're just culturally we are different.
What is the difference between, say, southeastern Kentucky and western Kentucky? What's the difference?
Well, um,
A little more
it's a good,
hillbilly in the east. A little more hillbilly.
yeah. Well, I also think that it's the argument is kind of being applied both ways. Like, um, I talk a lot about sex trafficking, and just the way that women have been groomed, the way that women are objectified in this area, the way that women are, it's just kind of the way that we're seen, um, and the way that we are accustomed to that now, like I don't want to use the word groomed, but I can't think of a better word right now. We're almost groomed in a way from where we live. Culturally, we're groomed.
Yeah,
Does that
well,
make sense?
I mean, of course, yeah. I remember when we were considering moving away from California, and Pennsylvania was on our list. Uh, I was back at the family homestead at my grandparents' home for my grandfather's funeral, and I was sitting with my aunt and uncle who I had not seen in a while, and I knew that they moved around a lot in the state because he was if I remember correctly, he was like an executive for Western Union, so he was transferred a lot for his job. And they had lived in Pennsylvania, I think, three times, once in Philadelphia and twice in Western PA. And so at the time, I asked her, "Hey, so if you could go back to anywhere else, where would you go?" And she goes, "Oh, yeah, Western Pennsylvania." And I said, "Pennsylvania, no doubt." "Ah, you're kidding." She goes, "No, no, no, not Pennsylvania, Western Pennsylvania. Do not go to the east." Right. And so in our state, there was that big of a cultural difference
Uh-huh.
between and we're talking big cities. I mean, they lived outside of Pittsburgh versus being outside of Philadelphia. Obviously, Philadelphia is bigger, but it's Pittsburgh's a city. Pittsburgh's like a pretty big metropolis. So, but she was like, "Yeah, everything in the east you want to stay away from." So even within our little commonwealth, there's a recognizable difference. And I can't
Mm.
even put it into words, but if I go up into Philadelphia or go over the river into New Jersey, or I'm down in, Wilmington or something like that, greater Philadelphia area, I want to get out as fast as I possibly can. I mean, I went back for in February for the Ellen Greenberg trial, and
Mm.
as much as it was so great to see Ellen's family, to see Joel, see all these people that I know and love, oh, dude, I wanted out of there as fast as I possibly could at the time. It was like, "Oh, you settled. Great. All right, I'm out of here tomorrow." So yeah,
Yeah.
they're big differences. The Bartleys argued one of their arguments was that media coverage in this case is an issue that will not change by transfer to any county within the Commonwealth. And I think they're right about that. You could transfer to freaking Timbuktu. The media coverage, including us, is
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah. But that's going to follow them anywhere. It doesn't matter if it's, here or on the other end of the state.
Yeah. Let's see, the other main thing, even if the court were to grant the transfer, they said uh, it should be to an adjoining county. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, my kitty was beating up my kitten. I had to go save her.
Yeah, it's okay. Hearing on the issue is mandatory, they said. And then there's a whole bunch of. Look at the
Yeah.
coverage on this New York Post. Yeah,
Mhm.
like it's everywhere. NPR, it's everywhere.
Well, I was gonna pull this up real quick because he says something about the community part. First preference is to allow the defendant to be heard by the truest jury of his peers, his own community. It is well settled that there are exceptions. Oh, okay. Let me see what it says. I was kind of whenever I read it last night, I was like, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading that too. What was the other one where he talks about Eastern Kentucky? Let
Yeah,
me see if I
that
can find that.
that's what I was looking for. Is it what is it?
Yeah, it's
Control?
under. Okay. The Commonwealth not only wants, let me bring this up. The Commonwealth not only wants this case out of Letcher County, it seeks removal from the whole of Eastern Kentucky. First, there's
Yeah.
no clear definition of what counties are considered Eastern Kentucky. Second, there is no support for the notion that some unknown boundary line surrounds the folks in the mountains and makes them more susceptible to national news, local news, social media, or newspapers more than those west of some imaginary line. He full on is making the argument that what we're just mountain folks, and so we don't know, our head from a hole in the ground. So you want it, and wherever. What
He's
is the
really
what is the
I don't
what
know.
is the big Kentucky? What is the biggest city in Kentucky? Why am I blanking right now?
Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah. So
Mm.
yeah. Okay. Like
Well, I don't
okay.
know who writes this stuff. I don't know if it's him or if it's Carrie. Um, or it could be somebody else. But
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if it's Jeremy or if it's Carrie. But I've been very impressed in their responses and in their filings because they're very creative in their arguments.
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with them.
News coverage in this case is stretched to Europe, yet the government asserts that the jurors in the whole of eastern Kentucky are uniquely unqualified to hear this case.
Yeah.
That I mean, that's pretty well argued. That's pretty well done. Like,
Yeah.
let's see.
I'm impressed.
I just messed something up. Let me just make sure that I have my yeah, okay. I messed something up on my system. So how long do you think it'll be before this makes it to trial? It seems like it's headed to trial
Yeah. Um, it'll be 2026. It'll be next year for sure. It
easily.
ain't this year, yeah. We're already in September, so yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
is
say
the
that again.
fourth? I was I keep thinking forgetting September 13th is my 1 year anniversary and it's the fourth.
1 year on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
You
For
get
Hillbilly
out,
Crime. Yeah.
get out. You're coming up on 1 year.
In like a week.
That's awesome. Why does
Yeah.
that? Why does September 13th ring a bell? I feel like there's something. I feel like there's something that I'm supposed to do on that day. But did you know on the 15th? So the 13th is what, a Saturday? Is that what it is?
I don't even know.
On the 15th, which should be a Monday, that's my first
Mhm.
day being part-time at my day job.
Ah,
Yeah, I
yay.
finally get to do this a little more full time. It already is full time, but yeah.
That's Monday. Yeah. 13th
Hey,
is Saturday.
hey, I saw on your channel, but I didn't watch the video. There was a video titled something like Sabrina Adkins speaks out or something. What is
Mhm.
Sabrina up to?
Well, she made a post on her Facebook. Um, and she, you know, which I can't speak for her, or anything. I just found the posts and read them. Um, But, it has to be hard for her to see Taya speaking out and, other people coming forward and being able to speak out. And, Sabrina still can't really. She's got that civil lawsuit that is still pending. And, I think that it's just really got to be hard on her to not be able to talk yet, you
Yeah.
know.
For those of you who don't know, I think most of you know, but there's so many twists and turns in this case. I mean, you and I just jumped in going, "Hey, Kevin Mullins was murdered by a sheriff." But there was so much that was like that is chapter 19 of a 30 chapter book, right? There's so much that happened before. But just so you guys know, Mickey Stines was sheriff of Letcher County. He also worked, let me see if I can get it over to, there we go. There's a picture of him as sheriff. He also, prior to that, worked as bailiff for Judge Mullins, right? So they had known each other a good long time. Okay. Mickey had a deputy named Ben Fields. This is his, what would we call this? His predator profile picture. But before that, he was maybe the sloppiest deputy I've ever seen in my entire life. But he was a deputy of Mickey Stines. He got convicted. He pleaded guilty, but it's a conviction of SAing women in the Letcher County Jail. Part of his job as working in the courthouse, was overseeing the application and the tracking of ankle monitors, and he was basically trading favors with these women, going, you know what, a little tit for that, tit for tat, that kind of stuff is what he was doing. I want everybody to understand. I know exactly what this is. I'm tiptoeing around YouTube is really what I'm saying. But he was R wording these women. That's what was happening, right? And
Yeah.
it was Fields after he was convicted. Well, no. Anyway, he's in the middle of a lawsuit and he's being sued by Sabrina Atkins and by the estate of Jennifer Hill. These are two of Ben Fields' victims. When Mickey went to do a deposition in that case, that is kind of it was on a Monday, and on a Thursday he's in Judge Mullins' office doing this. Is that a pretty good summation, Elizabeth?
Yeah, and I want to be sure to add in there, it has been reported that from Sabrina that her and Jennifer Hill were both told, they might get through this lawsuit and get money, but they would never live to spend it. And Jennifer Hill was then, she lost her life. The circumstances around her death are that of an overdose, but it has been told, they've said that they are looking into it. It was a suspicious death. It's supposed to have been investigated, but nobody's ever heard one word about it. After that, I think hot shots are very easy way to get rid of witnesses and people who are accusing you of bad things. But with the loss of Jennifer Hill, Ben was then only charged with one criminally, because he was charged with both at first criminally. But once Jennifer Hill died and was, knocked off of the charges, then he was just facing criminal charges with Sabrina, which he got 6 months out of.
And I think there was a third as well, but it didn't end up that person
Mhm.
probably didn't want to testify, or it was, but they had found a third that they
Mhm.
identified as like a Jane Doe or something. I can't remember, but
Mhm.
so that's the reason that he only got the 6 months, is there was one victim.
Mhm. Well, I mean, that's what it looks like to me,
Yeah, I hear
you
you.
know.
It's hard to say, but I mean, it was a plea bargain, right?
Yeah, it was a much stronger case when they had two victims, who are plaintiffs, but then once one of them drops off, dies from an overdose,
Yeah.
you know. And remember, Mullins was alive during all of that. His influence and thumb was absolutely on the scale at the time.
No, can you imagine like knowing that one of your basically, what's a good term for this? Co-conspirators, but that's not really a good term for it, but one of the people that is doing the same thing that you are doing is being charged criminally. There's a sitting judge, I would be seriously worried, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah, it makes you wonder who. I mean, it's possible that Jennifer Hill did die of an overdose. It's possible, and it's very hard to say one way or the other, because she was an addict and she did have the background. So
Mhm.
it's a plausible explanation for her death. That is also a very good reason why authorities should look closer at it, because she's a witness. She is a victim in pending litigation and a pending criminal matter and she dies, that is suspicious.
Yeah.
Hot
And
shotting, yeah.
she did not give the way that it was explained to me. I talked to somebody who was with her whenever she died. They were with her. And then we had some conversation with Jennifer Hill's family. And according to the family, whenever 911 was called, it took them like 3 hours for an ambulance to get there, according to them. And so, that was a piece of the puzzle that was just really upsetting for them.
Was she still alive during part of those 3 hours, you think?
The way that it was explained to me was that somebody had offered, to do a pill with her. And so she, yeah, of course. So she goes, or whatever they were going to do with her. And allegedly. So she goes over to do it, and she goes in, and she went into the bathroom or into a bedroom with somebody, with some people. And allegedly somebody else did it, gave it to her. And then she leaves. She goes to leave, and she gets in the vehicle. And the next thing you know, they said that she started grabbing her chest and was like, wait, that wasn't what that was. That wasn't what that was. And next thing you know, she was out
So they say
and
she recognized there was
something wrong.
something wrong. Oof.
And so they tried to do CPR on her. But that's, I think about that sometimes. Would I know how to give CPR to somebody? I've never give it before. I watch a lot of it on TV and stuff, but I don't know if I would know how to give CPR to somebody.
I can confidently say that no, you would not.
Right.
That's,
No.
I mean, so I taught CPR classes when I was a younger person. Uh, Man, I haven't been certified in 20 years, which is a shame. Like our children are, because they worked as lifeguards and stuff like that, and one of our daughters still works in a pool, and so
Mhm.
she's CPR certified. But if there's one constant truth in this world, it is that unless you train for it, you will not know what to do in the moment. That's that's just the way it is. Like I remember, and this is going to make it sound like a story like I want to like lift myself up on something on some pedestal. But I remember, I think I was about 22 years old. I was on a lunch break with coworkers. We worked these menial, crappy jobs in a call center, and we went off campus in order to basically separate ourselves from the job that we all hated because we were going to school and we were all broke and everything. We just had to take the work that we could. It was one of those jobs. And on our way back to campus, I remember this so well because I ended up getting in trouble for being late for our lunch break. We were gone for like an hour and 20 minutes or something, and we got written up for it. But this is what happened. I was driving. We were in my car, me and two others. We're driving back to our stupid, horrible. Do you guys get the picture? I hated this job. And a motorcycle comes around, and I saw it happening. He comes around me, and he didn't see what was in front of him, and he rear-ended a car, and he goes head over tilt over this car. And when we all stop and get out, his leg is off of his body. So like it's hanging by like thigh skin, but it's perpendicular to his body. And it was not pretty. And like everybody's like, oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I was like, give me your belt. And I was like on it because I trained it, right? I trained it for years. And we ended up getting this guy like he was in good shape by the time EMS arrived, which felt like it was 3 hours, but it was probably like 4 minutes, right? And then they handled it. He airlifted the whole thing, and we had to be interviewed by police, the whole thing. But anyway, my point is, if you train it, it's second nature. If you don't, nobody knows what to do.
Yeah.
Nobody. So yeah.
It makes sense, I mean, it sounds about right. If you don't use it, you lose it. And
Well,
I ain't never know now.
and
So,
even with like drug overdoses, you should be training how to administer. Is it called Narcan or Norcam? It's Narcan, right?
Narcan. Yeah, that's real easy. It's like a
In
nose
the
spray.
nostril, right? But
You stick
those
it
are
in
things
the
that
nose.
we should be. I mean, you should be training for those things, especially if you are in the throes of addiction and you are around this stuff all the time. You should be training for it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I've got 2 Narcan in there in my kitchen cabinet, and
Do you?
there's absolutely 0 chance that I'll ever overdose. I've got that blocker in my medicine, that I take every day. So, I'm already blocked up. But you never know if somebody might fall out in your driveway,
That's
or,
right.
your neighbor might, have an episode or something. You just never know when you'll need it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So what are the next steps on this case? What do you think happens
Um,
next?
I don't really honestly know. Everybody thought that there was a big hearing yesterday, um, but it wasn't. It was just one of those, final days, deadline days. Um, but I don't really know, to be honest. I have no idea what's next. I have no clue.
Well, now that I'm on the media list, we will have lots to talk about. Every time something gets filed, I'll shoot it over to you.
Yeah.
Let's see what people are asking or saying over in the comments. Though I suspect they're not saying anything because whenever you come on my show, everybody just like they just want to listen. They don't want to say when I'm alone, they have lots to say. But when you're on, they're like, I just want to listen. Uh, Susan says once you're trained in CPR, it kicks in like muscle memory. Except Susan, in the time that I was trained and was training in CPR has changed. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, and the rescue breathing and everything is all changed. I really need to go and do that.
I'm
Um,
afraid I would hurt somebody, like break their ribs, like because that's what I've
you will,
heard.
you will. It's okay. You'll break ribs. Doing chest compressions, you definitely break ribs every time. No exceptions. But yeah. Hey, have you heard about this guy in Australia that full on shot 2 cops and then retreated into the Australian outback? Have you heard about this?
No, not
Okay,
at all.
I don't know much about this, but I was talking with one of my volunteers who is from the same. Oh, this is Cal. This is her. So I didn't even look. Yeah. Hello. Hey there. Um, yeah, like there was this guy held up in his house. By the way, like gun crime is not much of a thing in Australia, right? The Commonwealth countries, they don't have near amount the guns that we have in the United States. We really are in love with guns here in the States. And that's
Mm,
coming from a gun owner. Anyway, uh, he's holed up in a house and the 2 cops that go in first are shot dead, and then he was able to, as like a survivalist, go out into the outback. So
mm.
he's still missing. Kel, I'm sorry to hear that. Sucks bad. Um, Carrie says, "Do you think Western Kentucky is more liberal than Eastern Kentucky?"
I,
I try
I
to keep politics out of it, but we'll let this one slide. What do you think?
I don't know. That's a good question. I was really shocked whenever I started looking at the breakdown here in all these people are Democrats. Like Mickey's a Democrat. All of these people are Democrats. That are like most of them that get these positions in the good old boy circle,
Yeah.
they're Democrats.
Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Shocking.
well, considering where you are, right? It's a pretty red
Yeah,
area where you are.
yeah, yeah. And listen, uh, I'll we don't do party politics. Okay, I know we don't do it on. I know you don't do it
Yeah, I
on
don't.
your show, and I do not do it on my show ever, ever. But I'll give you all a little nugget. I'm a
Okay.
Democrat,
Oh, are
and
you?
I have been a registered Democrat all my life, and but I'm fighting against all of these people who happen to be Democrats. It ain't got a thing to do with politics, though. It has absolutely nothing to do with party. I'm not one of those people who vote, straight nothing. I'm all about who is the best candidate for the job.
Well, in this
Who do
case,
I?
it's not about politics. It's about power, right? It's
Yeah,
about power.
yeah,
That's all it is.
yeah,
And it doesn't matter what your politics are. I rule, or I live, at least online, by the Dolly Parton rule, is what I call it. I call it the Dolly Parton rule. Left, right, center. I love y'all.
yeah,
That's how. Now I have my political
yeah.
leaning and I have my political ideals and ideas, but I don't share those publicly. It's not, and to me it really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter uh, in in this kind of case is what I'm saying. Like
Well,
politics matter, but in this, no.
this is how screwed up it is. Like I don't align with hardly anything that the party even is now or
Mm.
has always been. I'm the weirdo.
Well, welcome to the club. Hey,
I'm the
Ducky goes.
weirdo.
Ducky says, "Is it better to move the trial location or bring in a jury from a different location? I think local jurors might be threatened.
There's a
Like,
lot of territorial. Hmm.
well, but if you're in a little town, like okay, if you walk around my hometown, I can pretty much spot the people that I see all the time."
Hmm.
Right. So if you're bringing in 12, 14, 16 people from out of the area and drop them into Whitesburg, people are going to know they're the jurors, right?
Hmm.
They're going to know.
Oh, oh yeah. And people here are not. I don't think that they would be very. I don't think people would like that very much.
Having outsiders in.
Well, taking their jury. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think people like that very much. I mean, I could be surprised. I could be wrong, but you know, I've just I've felt it. I've seen it. I know how people are here. I think that you would have a big problem with people being very territorial. Like this is our county. This is our, you know,
Yeah.
trial. This is our time. I don't know.
Well, it does make it more expensive to take the trial elsewhere. I mean, the Bartleys are from the area, right? The prosecutor is from, well, actually, the prosecutor is from a different county, right?
Well, they're all a little bit from a
Okay.
little bit away.
But either way, if it
Yeah.
goes all the way to Western Kentucky, then there's the travel and lodging expenses and all that stuff. It becomes very expensive on the state. However, I mean, I don't I don't see that there would be any advantage to bringing people into Letcher County. I mean, it's already the judges from one county. It's all spread out all over the place.
Well, there ain't no hotel to keep them in.
Uh,
Where would you lodge them at? There's
there's
no
no
place to.
hotel there.
No,
Where's the
there
closest
used to
hotel?
be, but Hazard, Pikeville,
How far away is that?
um, 45 minutes.
Hey, Is it Hazard County? Is that what it is?
It's Perry County, but Hazard is the county seat.
Okay. I had a Bo and Luke Duke thing going on there in my mind there for a second. Okay. I was hoping it was Hazard County, but all right.
Well, it's Hazard, Kentucky.
It is Hazard, Kentucky. That's funny. Hey, Susan, thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Uh, Kel says, a little late, but I made it. Hello. She calls us both awesome. I think she's talking about you. Uh
Oh,
oh, they're bringing in the jury now. This was from before. Does that mean, are we talking about Donna Adelson?
oh, I didn't even realize that she had a trial going on, or I would have covered that.
Adelson verdict is in. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, Jess,
Guilty. Ah,
let's
I'm
scroll down and
guessing.
see if Jess has told us anywhere. Greek salad says I am the best, but honestly, Greek salad is the best. It's hard to beat Greek salad. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, okay, here we go. Rosie says Western Kentucky here we have a mix of conservative and liberal here, like everywhere else. Okay. Uh, oh, not the outback, but the Alpine High Country. Super thick. This is where that guy in
Yeah.
Australia, the cop killer. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to know, Jess. Jess needs to come back and tell us what's going on with Donna Adelson. Yeah, it might be a good time to stop anyway. Unless there's something that like we need to talk about. Is there something we need to talk about?
No, I'm good. I'm tired. I'm ready to go to bed.
You're ready to call it? Hey, before we go, I do have to say I've been watching your channel a lot more lately. And just a little inside baseball for everybody. Like, YouTube is actually quite a full-time job. It is
Mhm.
difficult to actually watch YouTube when you are creating
Yeah.
content for YouTube. So
Yeah.
it's no like diss on Elizabeth or anybody else that I love on YouTube. I just don't get a chance to watch them very often because if I'm not on YouTube, I am
Yeah.
I am preparing for it. But I've been watching your channel a little bit more, and your mom is delightful, and I just love her very very much. She pulled out the banjo. At that point, I was in. She pulled out the
Yeah.
banjo.
Whenever I freeze up, she doesn't freeze up. So she can carry it while I'm.
Yeah, she'll sing. And
Yeah.
she reminds me of my wife's grandmother. Like, not the same age, of course, but like, Grandma Compton was just like so happy all the time and completely unflappable and could just be like, oh, there's something, oh, I'll play the piano. Or what, it's like that kind of thing. That's the way your mom strikes me.
Well, you ought to hear her whenever we were talking about the guy with the big appendage, but that's all she wants to do is see it.
That's funny.
She,
Okay. Sorry, Autumn, thank you very much. Yes, Susan says, forgive the interruption. Donna Adelson found guilty on all counts. I'm so
do
I
you
was just so excited, Susan. I was just like, thank you, and then didn't even read what you had to say. I'm sorry. So
do you
Donna
think
found.
do you think Wendy will be charged,
I think Harvey comes next. I
Harvey?
think I think Harvey comes next. Yeah,
Do you think Wendy will be?
yeah,
I hope
yeah.
so.
I think
I
Harvey
hope
comes
so.
next, and then Wendy. The whole thing where she and now we're like getting on to Donna Adelson, but it's totally cool. The whole part where like she was just down the street and in her minivan, kind of like watching the whole emergency response to it, and then she like tears out of there. Yeah, yep, she was part of that conspiracy, in my opinion. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think she goes. Now she's been given derivative use immunity though, so she has a level of immunity that they'll have to break through. But I think with Manbagua, with Tato and Tuto or Tito, I can't remember which one, And now with Donna, there is so much evidence that they got
Mm.
that they probably got because of uh, derivatives of what she told them, but there were so many other angles that they were coming in. I think they got her. I think
I
she's
can't believe
gone.
they gave her any immunity in the first place. Like, who made that decision?
Yeah, I wonder because I wonder at what point they did that. Somebody's got to know. Mooney might know this if Mooney's around.
I
Um,
think they did it along. I think they did it at the very beginning of like Brothers stuff, but
yeah.
like I think that they would none of them were going to be charged for the longest time. I think it took outrage and outrage and outrage to get them charged in the first place.
Well, do you think that
Um,
immunity came before the bump?
yeah, I think it did. I think it did, but I could be wrong. I just think that they made a lot of bad decisions in the beginning because they thought, oh well, we can't get a they were wealthy. They were wealthy. They all had positions. They had names. They had friends going back for a long time. They've got really good friends, probably very political friends, good
Yeah.
political friends. They've probably donated lots of campaign money over the years to these people. And that's probably what kept them from being charged in the first place. But because there was so much evidence, and so much just outrage
Okay. There are
that
two things that just completely tickle me about the stuff in this case. Okay. And guys, don't get me wrong. I know that this is a murder. This is the life of Dan Markel. Totally get it. Okay. So I'm not saying I like this. I'm just saying it causes me to guffaw. And it is the whole. She thought that laundering money meant actually putting money in the washing machine and washing it. And I love that so much. Like, I love that so much. Just how stupid are you? Listen, okay, Gavin's iron law of criminal mastermindery. We can all say it together. Here we go. If you believe you have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind, that is evidence in and of itself that you don't have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind. That is my
yeah.
iron law of criminal mastermindery, okay? If she thinks, like, we can get away with this by laundering the money. Hold on, I've got a load in right now, but it's about to go in the dryer. I can stick the cash in. Oh, that
Crazy.
is what?
I forgot something else.
Oh, tell
A,
me,
a
tell me.
big part of the Mickey stuff. Okay,
Oh,
so
okay, okay.
allegedly, allegedly, Daniel Dotson is the attorney who went with Mickey to the deposition and sat with him and kind of oversaw what all he was saying at the deposition.
But he
Daniel
wasn't
Dotson.
representing Mickey. He was the guy that's not representing Mickey, but was there.
Yes, 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 yes. So allegedly, Mickey told it's in the transcript that, but it if I don't know which one it is, so somebody's made a typo. One article says that Daniel told Mickey, "Get me money. I need money, and you need to then go and unalive yourself, or they're going to kidnap your wife and kid." Or,
Oh, that was the $9,000. Okay,
or now my source, I have a source, a very, very, very credible source,
okay,
and they said that their friend was in line at the bank the day before the shooting happened. Mickey was in front of her, and Mickey withdrew $9,000 from the bank in cash. So
okay.
we know that from a witness who was at the bank behind Mickey that day. They didn't know what he did with the money or what he was going to do with the money. All they know is that they watched him withdraw $9,000 out of the bank. Okay.
Okay.
Um, but it's in the transcript that Mickey says that Daniel either offers him money or asks him for money, because then that other article says that uh, Dotson gave Mickey money to then go and unalive himself. But then the other one says that Dotson was asking for money from Mickey. So I
Either
mean, if it goes
way, though,
right,
either 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 way.
either way, either
So
way,
the threat was
that's a
go and
threat
take
from.
care of yourself, or your wife and daughter are next.
Now, would that not be probable cause to have a search warrant done on Dotson's communications with Mickey?
There's got to be, yeah, there's got to be either a
Wouldn't that
warrant
be?
or a subpoena there. Yeah.
Yes. Why not? And that's out in the transcript. So you would think that that would be um, probable cause in the investigation. Whoever's investigating this, supposedly the Kentucky State Police, why would they not be investigating Daniel Dotson if this is coming out in,
Well, maybe they
the
are. They
transcript?
might be.
Maybe.
I
Yeah,
hope
you're
they
true.
are.
That's right. Maybe.
Oh my goodness. So it was nine gur that ha, the person in the line behind him like knew that it was 9,000. They like had
So I guess
the,
they
yeah, as they're counting the money.
or that he said it, like whenever I go into the bank I tell them how much money I need.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not like you're going into like some Swiss bank where you're sitting in a private office or something. You're like a foot and a half away from the guy next to you, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're right behind me.
Well, and uh, not only, I mean, not that brings up another thing, and that is Mickey Stein's state of mind. So if that happened, the the deposition was on Monday, right?
Hmm.
So this, I assumedly happened on Tuesday or
Thursday.
Wednesday or Thursday. What day was it? Do you know?
Monday was the deposition, and
Yeah.
then I think Wednesday or Thursday was the day of the shooting.
Thursday was the day of shooting, but what would the day be where he's seen withdrawing money?
That would have been Wednesday, the day
The
before the
day
shooting.
before. So, I mean, when we go to Mickey's state of mind, there is a document in here that I know that you know way better than me. Let me just see if I can find it here real quick. Yeah, okay. So, uh, what do we want to do? We want to bring this one up. So, this is a brief in support of the motion to dismiss the indictment. And as part of this, there are exhibits, right? Okay, so
Mhm.
this is a jail triage clinical follow up risk assessment, and it's a couple pages. Down at the
Okay.
end, let me see if I can zoom up here real quick. It says, and this is Tiffany D. Conley, LCSW, so licensed clinical social worker is the person that is taking a look,
Tiff.
evaluating Mickey, right?
Mhm.
Upon evaluation of Mr. Stines, it appears that he is still in an active state of psychosis. Now, she's very careful not to say he is in an active state of psychosis. She says he appears that he's in an active state of psychosis. He appears disoriented and is only aware of things jail staff tell him. He has no recollection of the recent past, as you said. He does report that he has some paranoia because he is unsure where he's at and is told he is incarcerated. He does not appear to understand his charge and is unaware of his surroundings. He denies any ideations of self harm or harming others. He does present to be responding to internal stimuli during the evaluation. I don't know what internal stimuli would be. Mr. Steins should continue at high risk level. He has had episodes of combativeness, which has required pepper spray, which you said. It is recommended that he be evaluated again in the next 24 hours. Mr. Steins has recently agreed to take respiridone. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, risperidone. Ain't that um, it's helps you sleep, I
Okay.
think.
2 times daily, this began this morning, will evaluate effectiveness on symptoms when re-triaged. The reason that I brought that up is like, okay, so he looked paranoid. Now I had wondered if it was an act, right? That the body worn camera stuff. I had wondered if it was an act until he got to like the elevator and then the stairway. And then I'm like, dude, this guy's having a hard time. And then a licensed social worker is saying he's in a state of psychosis. So he's got the pressure of the deposition. We're now suspecting that he has this pressure of he is expected to remove himself from planet Earth, but not before he can withdraw $9,000 from the bank to give it to the guy who threatened him. Yeah, I, I mean, I'm on Jeremy and Carrie Bartley's side. This dude had, if that is true, what you shared from that article, if it is true that Dodson was threatening him, then yeah, I mean, he had enough pressure to break. He was not in his right mind, right?
Hmm. And you know, uh, like that was a lot what you just read there. That he doesn't know where he's at. That he doesn't know his surroundings. In that very last our court hearing that we just had, it looked like he was getting ready to like have an outburst right there in the courtroom. He walks in and sits down, and you can tell he's real agitated. It takes Jeremy Bartley sitting over there like rubbing on his back and trying to, and you can see Jeremy's like looking at him in his eyes, making real big eye contact, smiling, trying to get him to calm down.
Hmm.
And Perry Bartley even chimes in and tries to get him to calm down. Um, so I thought that he was going to have like an outburst, but he didn't. Jeremy and Carrie got him under control pretty quick there. Um, but I just think that it's very, telling. Why didn't they have a evaluation done on his mental state now? They made such a big deal out of just having the evaluation done on his criminal responsibility of at the time of the shooting. But they were very careful to say that they weren't, trying to get an evaluation done on whether he was competent to stand trial.
Yeah, and I have noticed in the documents that were dumped here that I'm sure you're already aware of this, but the prosecution is asking for a new evaluation.
I
And the
saw that.
Bartleys are saying, "No, you're welcome to have whatever doctor or whatever expert you want to look at the results, the reports of the evaluation. The evaluation's done." So
Mm,
I wonder what that strategy is because I know, well, I don't know. I suspect from like I covered this trial kind of local to me here in Western PA where the guy was charged, like the jury could come back with he's guilty but criminally insane, or he's not guilty or not guilty by reason of criminal insanity. There were like all these different options. It did not matter what they came back with, guilty, not guilty, with a caveat or not. That dude was
mhm.
going to a mental hospital for a long, long time if he was. It didn't matter, right? So I
Yeah.
wonder with Mickey, is it so obvious that even if he is not guilty, they're trying to keep him from being labeled as like crazy now? I know that's not like an actual diagnosis, but they're trying to keep him from being diagnosed wackadoo now so that if he is found not guilty, he can at least go free. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Maybe. I just found it very I don't know, just confusing that he doesn't have any memory of the recent past. He doesn't know where he's at. He doesn't understand the charge. Like that's what um, I thought that's what they always look at for, are they competent to stand trial? Can they understand the charges that are being made against them? And can they um, help in their own defense? Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that?
Yeah, but the Bartleys are like, no, he can help. He's competent.
Yeah,
We just want the other part. It's
yeah.
funny.
So I don't get that. Why? But that's their strategy. Hey, and um, I also found out that he was a prosecutor for like 10 years and she worked on at the public defender's office for several years. So they both had lots of criminal law experience.
Okay, so I guess the criticism of the Bartleys in the beginning was that they're just personal injury lawyers and they don't know anything about this, but that's not true.
Yeah, no, that's not true.
Well, and their comportment has shown, at least to me, that they know what they're doing. They're good
Oh,
lawyers.
yeah, they know what they're doing. I
Yeah.
trust them. I think that they were probably the better lawyers. I think that they've um, done a really good job so far.
Now, do you know if they're court appointed or is he paying for them?
I don't think that they're court appointed, but I don't know. I'm sure they're being paid something, you know. But regardless of whether they're getting paid or not, though, the publicity and just them taking this case has put their visibility and stuff on 1,000. So
Yeah.
even if they took pro bono, it was benefiting them.
Gotcha. Donna Joe lives in the town where Jeremy and Carrie Bartley's law office is. That's pretty cool. Patty says internal stimuli refers to hearing voices. Risperidone is an antipsychotic. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Ah,
Guys are
yeah,
smart. Candy,
heck yeah.
was Dodson trying to hire a hitman to kill the judge?
Good question.
Mm, uh,
I think that there is room for an investigation to find out who and what is going on.
yeah, there should be. Kel likes my iron law of criminal mastermindery. I stole it from somebody else, so there we. I can't remember who, so I call it mine. What? That's not theft. That's only plagiarism. What?
Borrow, borrow.
Hey, guys, if you have not subscribed to Hillbilly Crime, there is a link in the description down below. Go check out her channel. She has a very cool vibe over there. Very cool channel. Go and subscribe if you haven't already. Didn't you just hit a pretty big milestone as far as subscribers? It was like
Well, we've hit
24.
24. Yeah, we're almost at 25,000.
Nice. So she's a growing channel. She's doing really good work. I'm wondering, like, you're gonna have to pivot at some point away from. I mean, I think it's gonna. There will be plenty to talk about with Mickey and Kevin for the next year and a half. But yeah, you're probably gonna have to pivot away. But
We cover all kinds of stuff. We don't just cover Mickey and Kevin, but that's what the people want to listen,
sure,
talk about right now. So we
yeah.
cover what they want to talk about.
Well, it's a fascinating case. It's
Yeah.
on so many levels, and I'm glad you're right there on the ground, and people are reaching out to you and talking to you, telling you things that have been going on down there. You're really plugged in. It's pretty cool. So guys, go go subscribe to Hillbilly. And one last comment. Las Vegas Medi Pedi Center and Spa. For all of your Medi Pedi needs in Las Vegas, says that they're worried about your safety. Hopefully, you are keeping safe up there. I
Oh
I
yeah.
think I think you're good. I think they're afraid of you, but they're afraid of what would happen if something happened to you. That's what I think. But keep yourself safe. Keep yourself safe. Okay.
Amen. Yep.
All right.
Sure,
Thanks for
Sally.
coming on. Hang out for just 1 second, will you?
Yeah.
because I have something to tell you offline, but give me just 1 second. Hey guys, thank you so much for being with us today. It's awesome as always to have Elizabeth back. Even after this all is over with, we are going to have Elizabeth back on as often as she is willing to come on because she's rad. Tomorrow, I think we might be going back to Lily and Jack Sullivan, but I'm not quite sure. There are a couple of irons in the fire, but we will be back tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. While I have your undivided real quick, you can always reach out to me on gavinfish.com. You can see Crime Caught articles and my latest blog posts. I posted one yesterday. Lots of stuff going on there. But if you click over here, that will take you over to the Fish Tank on Facebook where we hang out. You're always invited to join us in the tank. A lot of discussion going on over there about all things true crime. With that, guys, thank you very much for being here. I bid you adieu, and I will see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.